For 30, 40 years, school buildings have been neglected in this state. And it was no different in Cranston.
Now, sometimes people say, here we are, the most powerful country in the world. We're giving all this money away to foreign countries. How does the federal government support cities? Or how can we tap into federal funds? How does that work?
So we have a lot of grant programs that we look at. So the federal government gives the state funding every year, and the state then trickles some funding down to cities and towns. So we do get funding for education. There are some programs that the state does have that allow us to get funding from them if we do certain things. There are grants available. So we just received a firefighter grant from SAFER, which is a federally, I can't remember what SAFER stands for, but it's a federally sponsored firefighter organization that gives grants to people to hire more firefighters. So we hired firefighters under the SAFER grant. So that takes expense off the city for the first 3 years while they're kind of becoming firefighters. And then hopefully at that point, the revenues have grown in the city because time goes by, taxes you stay stagnant, but you have more building, more construction, more commercial, and you can then afford those firefighters without an increased expense to the citizens.
You just said building. In the city, where are the areas that more building can be done?
So you have spots over, oddly enough, behind Chapel View. There's a big piece of land open over there that abuts Route 37. You have some state land, city land that the state has been historically using for their buildings that I think we could work to develop something in. You also have pockets of areas in the section of Cranston down by the industrial park. And then if you look at where we're sitting right now, there's a lot of little small businesses that have gone out on the corridor, on Dyer Ave, Reservoir Ave, the Triangle, a lot of empty storefronts. So that's, I think, the next step to develop. Big areas, Cranston is pretty much developed. I don't see a lot of commercial going into Western Cranston at this point. Western Cranston's pretty rural. They're building a good amount of houses, maybe too many, but the time will tell. They're selling, so people are buying them. So they can't be building too many, but it feels like they're doing a lot of development up there. As far as commercial, we sold the Printworks. That was a big piece of property that was available for commercial development. They're working to do a piece of property up on Plainfield Pike, which used to be the Save-A-Lot cold storage facility. That's becoming a cold storage facility. So I got to give props to Larry DeBoni over in the Economic Development Department. He's finding buyers, working with owners to fill a lot of these spaces up. So the ones that were empty, where they built Cadence, where the old company that Dean Warehouse became, Save-A-Lot becoming a cold storage warehouse. He's done a really good job of working with people, working with the Chamber of Commerce to fill a lot of these locations. So we are running out of commercial development. We do have some going on behind Chapel View at the old Citizens Bank building, so that they're working on now. That's probably the last big piece of developable area.
Very good, very good. So we're about to end the segment, but before we do that, what's your favorite Italian dish?
I love veal parmesan. It's got to be bone-in, though.
It's got to be bone-in?
Bone-in veal parmesan.
I've never seen it with bone.
Camille's.
Oh, Camille's? Okay.
Camille's does it. And Ian Uccelli, I gotta give props to Nick Ian Uccelli for coming, opening a restaurant, and bringing it to Cranston. He does a phenomenal bone-in veal parmesan. He used to have it when he had the Florentine Grill, and now that he's open in Cranston, I have a lot of friends who own a lot of restaurants in Knightsville, but I will tell you, Mr. Ian Uccelli has opened a great restaurant in Knightsville. Brand new. It's small, so you gotta kind of maneuver when you get there, but he makes a great dish.
What's your favorite pizza?
Ooh, that's a tough one. It depends what kind of mood I'm in. I could tell that if anybody looking knows that I'm not
I got the same
a slimmer man. But it depends on what kind of pizza it is. I love Fellini's if I'm in the mood for that big floppy style pizza. And then if I want that bready Sicilian style, I go to Catanzaro's.
Sicilian is the thin one, right?
Sicilian's the thick one, the bready pizza.
Oh, the really thick one.
But then if I want like a Cranston pizza, I'll give Tommy's a call. So it all depends what kind of mood I'm in. There's a lot of, we have.
Isn't there a console person that actually owns a pizza place?
Well, technically no, but Ed Brady owns a few restaurants, and his Thirsty Beavers do well with food.
Yeah.
They do, but his pizza is a grilled pizza.
Yeah.
I'm a traditionalist when it comes to pizza, and no pizza is bad pizza. But I like to stick with, in Cranston, I would say my three go-to are Fellini's, Tommy's, and then Catanzaro's. Those are my three go-tos. I mean, there's still other great pizza places in Cranston, but those are my three favorites.
Good stuff, good stuff. So how about a message for all those seniors that are going to be graduating next year?
What I would say to you is enjoy the time you have in college now, but don't enjoy it too much. Work hard, pick a good major that will give you a good career. Think about jobs of the future. We need a lot of STEM program people. So if you want to be a math teacher, we need those. If you want to be an engineer, we need those. Science, technology, those are really where we need people in our state and in our country to kind of grow and become jobs. We don't need any more lawyers. A few of you can become lawyers. Don't need lots of lawyers. We need a lot of people to do STEM. So that would be my gift to the graduates coming up. And enjoy it now, because working is so much different than going to college. And I think anyone who has graduated from college will tell you it's the best 4 years of your life. Just don't make it 6 if you do get an MBA.
There you go. Council President, thank you
David.
very much. And remember, 1070 Cranston Street. Call us if you have a question. The number's right down here, and we're here to help you. 1070 Cranston Street, Cranston Department of Senior Services. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Good evening, everybody. How are we doing? If I can get the panel here, we're just about ready to start. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. This is our last hurdle with this grant. We did apply for a second grant. Hopefully, we'll get some favorable news within the next couple of weeks, so we can continue on this quest. But before I start, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Jeffrey Barone. I'm the Executive Director here at the Cranston Senior Center. I want to start by, first of all, thanking my staff, Maria Rondo, Rosemarie Corin, Doreen Montequillo, Jennifer Kevorkian, David Caroa is the Assistant Director. They all put their heart and soul into this, and I have to say, we did a great job. Our goal was to educate the people, make Cranston a dementia-friendly community, and it looks like we're on our way to do it. So we're here tonight to help you people. We have a great panel of very experienced people in this field. So if you have questions, these are the people that you want to ask. They are the experts. Our moderator tonight is Catherine Taylor. Catherine is the Senior Advisor for Policy, Partnership, and Community Engagement with the George and Ann Ryan Institute for Neuroscience. I have to read this because I can never say that.
I can't even say it. It's really okay.
The George and Ann Ryan Institute for Neuroscience, the Rhode Island Geriatric Education Center from the University of Rhode Island. Our panelist tonight is Ann Cerullo. She's Senior Clinical Research Coordinator, Rhode Island Mood and Memory Research Institute. Terry Fogarty, Community Outreach Coordinator for the Alzheimer's Disease and Memory Disorder Center at Rhode Island Hospital. And Tara Tang, Outreach Coordinator, Memory and Aging Program at Butler Hospital. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much. After the presentation, we're going to have a little question and answer. So if you have questions, you can direct them right to the panel. We have some tables set up there, so right after the program, please go visit the table, see what type of information you can get. And the best part of this, we have some refreshments in the back. Cookies, and we have cider and water. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Catherine Taylor. Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Oh my goodness, it's so great to be here at Cranston Senior Center with this wonderful team and the exciting, exciting work that's been done all this year in making Cranston a dementia-friendly community. I'm going to try putting this here.
They go by another Quadler's mic rant.
Can you hear me now? Does that work? Okay, great. So Jeffrey told you who I am, and I want to go back a little bit in time because there's such a contrast between when I first got into this work and today. Today is a really exciting moment in time for Alzheimer's research, and the operative word we all agreed on as we were preparing for this is hope. But when I first started working on Alzheimer's, I was director of elderly affairs several years ago, and we were working on the first state plan on Alzheimer's, and the second state plan that was done by current Lieutenant Governor Craig Dwyer is here. I want to acknowledge him. Thanks so much for coming. But we did it the first time. There was no cure in sight. And so what we were really focusing on is how are we going to help people living with the disease and their families until there was a cure. When the second state plan was released just a few months ago, just earlier this year, I told Lieutenant Governor McKee he's in such a much better position because now actually there is hope. And not only are new drugs maybe right around the corner, which you'll hear about tonight, but there are also things we know we can take charge of in our own lifestyle that are really hopeful. So just setting the stage for the discussion tonight, I'm going to turn it over to each of my wonderful colleagues here up on the stage to talk a little bit about what they do at their center, and then we'll start to talk about topics. And feel free, to raise your hand if something strikes you, and also don't be polite if you're getting hungry or thirsty. Do get up and go get some cookies and juice if you get hungry. It's pretty informal. Let's keep it that way. So I'm going to turn it over to Tara.
Hello, everyone. Can you all hear me?
Yeah.
Or is it? Okay. My name is Tara Tang, and I am an outreach coordinator at Butler's Memory and Aging Program, which is headed up by Dr. Stephen Salloway. My primary role is to get out into communities like yours and elsewhere throughout the state of Rhode Island, as well as southeastern Massachusetts, to share about the different work that we're doing, educate people on Alzheimer's, what it is and what it isn't, and then kind of be, hopefully, a friendly face to talk about, what clinical research is as well, and kind of debunk some of those myths, and then also engaging all the different communities to make sure that they are well represented, within the healthcare and the research worlds, and make sure that they feel comfortable and have all the information that they need as well. So I'm one of 3 ladies in the outreach department, so we're very excited to be at events like this tonight. Thank you. Terry?
Thank you, Tara. So my name is Terry Fogarty, and I am with the Alzheimer's Disease and Memory Disorder Center at Rhode Island Hospital, headed up by Dr. Brian Ott. And it's my pleasure to be here tonight. I want to thank the Cranston Senior Center for hosting what I call a historic event, because this is the first time all 3 research sites here in the state of Rhode Island have come together to spread a message about hope. I am joined by amazing colleagues who are out there working with our site. We are working nationally and internationally to really deliver a message about the importance of participating in clinical research to end this disease. So at our site, we are focused on prevention of Alzheimer's disease, meaning finding ways to stop this disease before it takes hold. We are looking at treatment for those who are currently living with Alzheimer's disease. And I always like to take a moment here to mention that the last time a drug for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease was approved by the FDA was 2003. Look at your cell phone that you have now. It looks nothing like the cell phones we had in 2003. So we need that same energy, technology, and participation in research to drive this disease into the ground. So it is really important that we focus on that. And then we are also, of course, looking for a cure at Rhode Island Hospital. And we do that by working together. And that is why it is an absolute pleasure now to introduce our other colleague here on the stage, Annie Carullo. Annie?
So, I'm the one that doesn't have it on, right? Oh, no, it is on. Can you hear me? No, I don't have it on. I told you I wasn't going to need it.
I'll switch with you. See,
All right.
cooperation.
So this will actually flow very well into what I do at Rhode Island Mood and Memory. I am the clinical nurse specialist there. I run the clinical trials. We do a lot of the psychometric evaluations to determine if whatever study drug we're using is working. But they do not allow me in the lab because I am terrible when it comes to mechanical devices. So I'm not allowed to spin blood. I walk by the photocopy machine and it breaks. So we all find our purpose in life, and mine is to actually do the evaluations to determine if somebody meets criteria to be in a study, and then if they do meet criteria to be in a study, to do what we can to find the right study for them, and then to proceed with the procedures of that study. So that's what we do there. Rhode Island Mood and Memory is a small entity, has a staff of 7. We're in East Providence. The only negative thing is you got to drive over the bridge to get to us. We are headed by Dr. John Stukides. He is the Director of Geriatric Medicine at Roger Williams Hospital. He is our primary investigator. We try very hard to make people very comfortable from the minute they walk in the door. Our job is to make them at ease because this is such a difficult disease to contend with. So we try and make your experience one that of compassion, but also of understanding, and we do our best to make you smile as we go through this process. And it's a privilege to work with this population and to be a part of this team today. It really is a rare event. We're usually competing, us three, and
Not
today
competing. No.
today
Sibling rivalry.
It is sibling rivalry, but it's a wonderful thing to get together, and we see each other all the time at the various events where we go to try and find people who would be willing to join studies and to be a part of the panel, and to just all together make a plea for you to consider joining a study if that's something that would make you feel like you were doing something to help stop the progression of this disease in generations to come. Then that's what we're all here to help you do.
That's wonderful, Annie. Let's follow up on that. Let's talk about sort of a 3-part question. What sort of person should consider being in a study? How do they get in touch with each of you? And then what happens next? Want to start with that, Tara?
Sure. I'm sorry, the first question one more time?
What kind of person would want to consider being in a study?
This is really such a personal question, and you want to make sure that a person who joins needs to be fully informed, right? That's making sure that you have done your research and that you feel that you've answered gotten all your questions out, and then that they were answered properly and to a degree that you feel you've been heard and that you have everything answered thoroughly to your liking so that you can make that informed decision. Another person would be if you want to do something for yourself in the immediate or something for someone in the future, whether it's a loved one, a family, your immediate children, your grandchildren, for the field itself. This is an extremely altruistic ask that we're, something that you can do. And so when people call in, one of the things that we ask them is, one, aside from where did you hear about us, but why do you want to do this? And that's really important that you, can share that with us, because I think that as researchers, that's going to help us kind of set the tone and bring you through this process, which can, some of these studies are long. We want to make sure that you feel comfortable throughout the entire process. And as we get to know you and why you're doing this, that can help us make you feel more comfortable in the process as well.
Can I follow up on that? So if I'm a person who has a little bit of memory loss but don't have a diagnosis, should I call? Should I call when I get a diagnosis? Should I call if I have a family history of Alzheimer's disease? What would make me think that a study would be right for me?
For us, for our site in particular, it's anyone. I mean, right now we're in the age of prevention of the disease. Yep. There's research out there that's showing that some of these amyloid plaques that have been known to put you at a higher risk start forming 15 to 20 years before you even exhibit memory symptoms. So right now we're looking for everyone, sooner the better. Just like with other diseases that we manage right now, the sooner you take care of things, the sooner you have the knowledge about it, the better that you can be prepared in the long run to go forward. And so it's for anyone. This is really for anyone. And that's across the board.
That's really important to know.
Absolutely, but as we say that, we also have to be aware that there are eligibility criteria for participation in any type of study that we have. So most of our studies are for people in the age range of 50 to 90 years old. I think we could all say that for our sites.
Sure.
The prevention studies in particular, if you have a family history of Alzheimer's disease, you're definitely a priority. We would like to see you and talk to you about participation in our studies. It is so important that you know, as Tara so eloquently said, that everyone has to be informed throughout this process. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about what it's like to make that phone call and what the process is that follows that.
Yes. Annie, do you want to talk about what kind of person or should call your?
Well, we're all doing the same studies. Right now, we're looking for people with who have either been diagnosed or have a strong family history and think that they may be starting to have symptoms. I just had a woman call me today. Entire side of her mother's family had Alzheimer's disease. And she's like, I don't know if I'm starting to have symptoms or not. And so we're just going to invite her in. We do I think we all do a brief memory screen when you first talk to us over the phone. Again, we try and put you at ease. We ask you some basic medical questions and, how long you've had symptoms, if you've had them, or what your concerns are. And there are certain things that for the studies, not all of the studies, but many of the studies won't allow certain things like pacemakers or defibrillators or a seizure history or different studies you can't be on certain meds. So we might talk to you about that over the phone just to so we can get an idea of what's the best route for you to take in terms of a study. I may find that you don't meet a criteria for any of our studies talking to you over the phone, and I'll call Tara and say, I think I got a patient for one of your observational studies. So, and this is the collaboration that's going on now that, I'm sorry, it's the Italian thing, I know. I'm gonna end up knocking her out. But this is what's new about what's happening right now in Rhode Island. We're actually calling each other and say, hey, I might have a patient for you. And that's just a fabulous thing. And then once we do that, then we'll invite you in for a memory screen. And most of us, again, do the same procedure where we pre-screen you. And at that point, we may take a more in-depth medical history. We'll ask you about your history. If you are calling with a complaint of cognitive issues and you haven't been diagnosed, that's fine, because we can do that in the process of the evaluation in terms of a diagnosis if you have one. Or if you end up having one after you go through the evaluation. And at that point, what we're really doing is doing a more in-depth medical history. We'll determine what medications you're taking, how long you've been taking them, and then we do some memory tests with you right then and there that are standardized memory tests that tell us whether or not you're in the ballpark of meeting criteria, and if you're in the ballpark of showing a decline or a change that would warrant further evaluation. And at that point, at Rhode Island Mood and Memory, you meet with Dr. Stukides, and then we'll talk to you about what study options. You see, the whole thing is what we'd like you to do is to look at a study as a treatment option, as an alternative to just going on the standard of care that we all did those studies for, the Aricept, the Exelon. We all did those studies. That's why they're FDA approved. Right here in Little Rhode Island, we did that. However, some of the studies that we're doing, you have to be on a standard dose of that medicine for a period of time before you're allowed to go on to the study. And it may be that you haven't even been on Aricept yet, and we're seeing that you have symptoms, and we may say, well, go on the Aricept for 3 months, and then we'll call you back in and start you on study drug if that's something that will work for you. So there's a lot of things that can happen just at that first appointment. I think we all do this. I think we all proceed the same way. It's the process is pretty similar. It's where it's being done that's a little different.
It may sound overwhelming, but we hold your hand through the entire
Absolutely.
thing and make sure that you're comfortable every step of the way.
Mm-hmm.
I know it sounds like a lot, but it is very prescribed. That's why we all do
Yeah.
it very similarly, because it's prescribed to be done that way.
Yeah.
And I think we all at all of our sites have wonderful nursing staff, coordinators and everything like that. And that's their job, is to make you feel comfortable, to make you feel informed and part of the process, a partner if you will, in this process. So I think I know working with these ladies and seeing some of the people that they work with, that I feel confident in saying that, we all have wonderful staff that are very much aware of this and want to make this a hold your hand in a good way process.
It's not like going to a regular doctor's appointment for any of us. It's not that atmosphere at any of our facilities. It's a very warm, you come in, probably the first thing we all do is ask you if you want a cup of coffee. At least that's what we do it, and usually there's a treat in the back too. And then we go from there and we just take it a step at a time. I'll often have a family member call me and say, oh, I don't know, I know something's going on with my mother, but I don't know if I can get her in there. And I say, tell her you're gonna come visit your friend Annie, we're gonna have a cup of coffee. She knows a lot about memory trouble and we're just gonna talk. Something simple like that, it's not, at least at Mood and Memory, we don't have the hospital atmosphere, so it's easy to kind of pull that off with us. I mean, that's one of the benefits of driving over the bridge is it is door-to-door service as far as the distinction between us. But as far as the actual job we all do, it's the same. And our goal is all the same, and that's to cure this disease once and for all.
I think we would all say, all of us that work in this, that many of our clinical trials participants become extended family for
Absolutely.
us and we for
Absolutely.
them. We're with them through such a difficult time in their lives and for extended periods in
Yes.
some cases. And so we enjoy visiting with them. They enjoy visiting with us. We have oftentimes, and I don't doubt that you have it too, where some of our clinical trials participants bring in food for us,
Oh, yeah.
or
Yes.
or small gifts for their research nurses, just because we just appreciate what they're doing for us and they appreciate how we are able to help them.
Right. And if I may just add to that, a lot of people who do participate in these trials, they are on the same schedule, so they come in at the same time. So then now they have a little group that they are able to talk with and share their experience with, and they become another part of an extended family, and they're sharing pictures about grandchildren, where they're going for their next trip and everything like that. And they come to welcome that as another social outlet, which is wonderful, again, when we're dealing with this type of disease.
Thank you for all that. So, did this go up? Can you hear me now? Yes. So, say somebody has called one of you and highly, highly motivated to participate in a study, and you go through the screening, and none of your studies are quite right for them, and you call your two colleagues and are not able to enroll this person in the study, but they're highly motivated. So what happens next? Maybe Terry, you'd like to answer that.
So in those cases, what we put you on is a future contact list. So as soon as a clinical trial that you may be eligible for opens, you're one of our very first phone calls. I like to try to think of myself, and I'm sure my colleagues do too, as trial navigators. And they use that term in treatment of some other diseases too. But our job is to try to match you with the best trial that will be of most benefit to you. So we don't give up easily. We will, as long as you're continuing to be interested, we're continuing to look for research that will benefit you and that you will be eligible to participate on. So we actually all have a study. Some of us have opened it, and we're about to open it, called Clarity, and we already have a list of people who were not eligible for other studies that we are doing that we will be calling as soon as we open this study to see if we can get them right in and screen them for this study.
And what about the prevention registry? Is that another option?
That is absolutely an option. So if you have memory or thinking concerns, I know my colleagues at Butler also have a registry. We'd love to have you sign up if you have a family history of Alzheimer's disease and have concerns about the possibility of you getting it or some symptoms that are making you start to worry. The Alzheimer's Prevention Registry at Rhode Island Hospital has an initial memory test that they give you, a memory screening, and then annually by phone we do the screening with you so that if we notice any decline in your memory, we can point that out to you and suggest that you talk to your primary care physician or get a referral to a neurologist to be seen. The sooner, we've learned, the sooner that you get treatment for this disease, the better your long-term prospects are as far as managing the disease successfully. The other thing is we can do the ApoE4 testing, and we can talk a little bit more about that later to determine if you're carrying the risk gene for that. What we're trying to find out is we know that having the ApoE4 gene puts you at increased risk for developing Alzheimer's disease. But we also know that some people carry it and never get the disease, and some people don't carry it and do get the disease. So part of our study is trying to figure out exactly what role ApoE4 plays in risk for Alzheimer's disease. We also are starting to take biospecimens, blood and saliva, that we are putting in a biospecimen bank so that as we learn more and more about this disease, we can figure out why I might have a brain full of amyloid plaque and tau protein, which are the hallmarks of this disease. Tara may have none or very little of it. I may not get it, and she may. So let's look at other things that are going on in our body that are making us susceptible to this disease. So we'll talk about that later. This is going to be your problem, Catherine. All of us could talk for hours on this subject.
You're not going to get a word in edgewise until you start to raise your hands. Go ahead, Annie. You want to
I just want to say Rhode Island Memory does not have a registry per se the way they do at Butler and at Rhode Island Hospital. But once you come in for an evaluation, if you do not meet criteria for a study that we're doing and we cannot send you to someone else for a study, we just see you every 6 months.